All right, hopefully everyone is doing well out there. The Charlotte Hornets off-season video. We're going to spend some time kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive into the Hornets. As you can see behind me, we've got the resources to kind of build the roster up. We will take a picture of that. We'll attach it to the video. The Hornets off-season article is up on ESPN.com. We've done it a little bit differently this year. We've done a little bit of a twist. Instead of 30 separate articles, we have one big rolling document. So right now, there are 10 teams up on ESPN.com, the teams that were eliminated. You can find Charlotte right on top there. So no, you don't have to search for the Hornets article. It's all in one big document here. We've kind of changed around the format a little bit. We've kind of taken a quantity, 2,500 words, shrunk it down a little bit to about 800 words per team, and kind of give you the meat and potatoes and focus in on whether it be the state of the roster, off-season finances, extension candidates to watch, priorities in the front office, team needs. The list goes on and on. And Charlotte's in this situation here. Anytime your second best player, Miles Bridges, gets arrested last offseason and your top player, LaMelo Ball, breaks his foot and is out a good chunk of the year, you say that's a good season, right? That's like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong here. But when you look at the big picture of where Charlotte is now compared to where they were a year ago, they are in a healthier position to build this roster. Because I'm not sure that if Bridges was signed and Ball stayed healthy, what is the upside of this roster? Is it 40 wins again and you're sneaking into the play-in for a team that lost 2 years in a row, got blown out in the play-in here? You bottomed out, and probably not by your own doing, by the Bridges situation, by Ball injuries all over the roster. You traded Plumlee at the deadline, Oubre out for most of the year. And now you enter the offseason with 5 draft picks. You have the chance, 12.5 chance to draft Victor. You have a late first from Denver. And you have 3 quality seconds, 34, 39, and either 42 or 43. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is the most important offseason in Charlotte history, based on the draft capital that you have. Not what you owe in the future. You owe that San Antonio pick. But the draft capital that you have, you've got to nail the draft. All 5 picks? No. But you got to nail the top pick, whether it be 4 or 2 or wherever your position. And you've got to find value late in the first round. And I know I've been hard on Charlotte. Wrote an article in December about them. They've found good value in Mark Williams. They found good value in Nick Richards, their 2 centers. Certainly, we can talk about LaMelo as far as what he's been able to do, and he's got to stay healthy here. Bouknight has been a huge disappointment. I don't see him being part of the future. Kai Jones is another player. They've actually have done a better job drafting in the second round than in the first round here with the Hornets here. But the draft is your focus because, well, let's face it, you're not one of these teams like Houston that's got $60 million in cap space or $45 million in cap space. You enter the offseason with $91 million in contracts, including your picks. You're over the cap because of the Miles Bridges and P.J. Washington free agent holds. Both players basically dictate as far as what you do this offseason here. Hey, if you want to let both guys go, and I don't think you're going to let PJ go, you can go into the offseason with cap flexibility here. The Bridges decision highlights basically the offseason here. And as Woj wrote, Michael Jordan is in talks to sell a majority stake of this team, full control, still retain a percentage. And if you're an incoming owner, do you want your first signings to be Miles Bridges based on everything that's happened over the last year? And I know the charges have been downgraded from a felony, pled no contest. He is still going to face a long suspension, 25, 30 games. So you are going to lose him off the top of the season. So now you have to make a decision. Do you extend him that qualifying offer at the end of June? Do you tag him again with the restricted, or do you just kind of let him go and just get a clean slate? If it was me right now, I would just let him go. Just let him go. Maybe tag him in the beginning and then maybe pull it. If you want to work at it, maybe there's a sign and trade out there. But for me in Charlotte, Miles Bridges is not part of the future. Now, PJ is going to be an interesting story based on, hey, his numbers have all gone up. Efficiency has dropped a little bit as his minutes went. What's going to be the cost from him? He'll get a qualifying offer. He'll be a restricted free agent. $17-18 million. What's your number that you're comfortable with? So it starts with the draft with your 5 picks. Certainly getting LaMelo healthy. You have to make a decision as far as with Bridges with his qualifying offer. I think PJ is a no-brainer that you will extend him. And that's kind of your domino of off-season. I've got the article up here as far as what you want to do. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that since 2018, I wrote this in there, the only free agents with NBA experience that Mitch Kupchak, their general manager, has signed was Gordon Hayward, who's basically has been injured his first 3 years, and Dennis Smith Jr. Kelly Oubre was a sign and trade here. And Hayward is going into the last year. He's got a $31.5 million expiring contract. So Charlotte could be a destination for free agents. I'm not saying it isn't. It could be. Right now it isn't. That roster's got to get better for it. It's one of these sleeping giants down there. But it starts with the draft. Starts with the front office priorities is Bridges, and then Washington. Figure out what you want to do. And then the extension candidate to watch. Right? That's going to be your next big thing as far as LaMelo. Right? It comes quickly. Right? It was 2020 when him and Anthony Edwards and Wiseman were drafted. Now he is extension eligible. Are you comfortable committing 5 years, $204 million to a player that has played only 162 games in 3 seasons? Fully guaranteed. That's going to be the big question. Can you do a Zion-type contract where you're guaranteeing for the first 2 years, and then years 3 to 5 are basically determined based on games played as far as the protection kicks in? That is something that you are going to need to figure out, and that is going to be a priority also. What are their needs, right? Besides health, bench. Bench is a priority in Charlotte. Reserves average 29.4 points, 4th fewest in the NBA, ranked last in 3-point percentage. You've got to fix that bench. As I said, they owe a pick to San Antonio in 2024. That's top 14 protected. You don't have draft assets to move in a deal. You've only have 4 future second-round picks. So let's start over. Draft. You got to nail the draft. 5 picks, 2 in the first, including a chance at getting number 1. You've got to figure out what to do with PJ Washington, Miles Bridges. You're over the cap. You've got that Gordon Hayward expiring contract. LaMelo extension for 204. That is your big thing. And then the other thing, too, is I mentioned about ownership. Like, who's going to be in charge? If this ownership sale happens, who's in charge of running things? And is that person basically just kind of tear this thing down and basically focus on your draft picks, LaMelo, maybe PJ, Mark Williams, and that's how you kind of build your roster around here. So offseason of Charlotte is on ESPN.com. You can read all about it. Here is their video for them. It is not doom and gloom, but man, do you have to get the draft right, and you've got to get some clarity as far as the Bridges situation.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.